Hello, welcome back to All for United WSC. I didn't expect to be doing a show today. Yesterday got out of the way, and we were like, right, Monday, we're ready for this Parris signing. And here we are on a Saturday night talking about our sixth signing, eh? We were sat here, Barry, I think it was about 3-4 weeks ago. We were like, no one's coming in. Here we are, 6 signings later. We've got another one, and another one potentially next week as well. So
It's almost like they had a plan, Connor. Almost like they had a plan.
100%. It's there's loads of people in the comments. I'll get to some of those in a second. Get your thoughts in. Are you happy with the Parris signing? Because it's a very good topic and it's a good talking point, this one. So make sure you get your comments in. I'll get through all of those in a second. I'll come to each of you first then. Mark, come to you first. Thanks for coming on again. And just your initial reaction when you saw that earlier.
Yeah, surprised it was a Saturday. I was like you, expecting it to be Monday. But overall, I think it's a great signing for us. I really do. I think it's, with all fairness to some of the players we've already got, I think it's a bit more experience on the width of the pitch, which is what we need. So yeah, I'm ecstatic about the signing. I really am.
And Barry, what about yourself? I know it was a little bit of a rush thing to get you on. I know you've been out and about today as well, but your just kind of initial thoughts on this signing as well.
Well, again, it's just a surprise. It was on a Saturday. I was absolutely convinced that if anything happened, if anything happened, it would be a Monday signing. But you know, I mean, I've made my feelings quite clear about every signing so far that's happened. This is what Skinner wants. And I think that's brilliant. He knows what he's doing. So as long as he knows what he wants, he's set his stall out now. There's no doubt, 6 signings. This is a Marc Skinner team now. He's kept the people he wants to keep. He's brought in the people he wants to bring in. So the season starts here, as far as I'm concerned. We've got pre-season friendlies coming up. And I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing what she can do. I think, she's got great numbers from her previous years, and yes, she had a dodgy season last season, but I don't think there's many players that performed outstanding for the entirety of their career, and she was at a place where she wasn't really wanted. She wasn't signed by the manager in the first place. So I think the way I feel about it is quite simple, really. It's that I'm pleased that she's here. I hope she does well, and quite frankly, I can't wait to see her play.
No, I'm agree with both of your thoughts there. I will just come to this comment because I have seen a couple of your comments before. You want to try and get a French or German centre back in. I would probably wait until next week. I think you might be onto something there. So keep an eye out next week because I think like I said, you might be onto something there. There's a lot of comments obviously coming in talking about their very good signings. Scored 33 goals for Man City, and that's exactly what I've been saying all along. If we can get that Parris back, 100%. We're going to get into a time at Arsenal as well and talk a little bit about that, whether we should be concerned about that. And Lanzo, your comment as well about our interview, I'm going to come to that as well, because it was an interesting quote that I'm going to read out a little bit later on when we come to that. But to start with, I'll come to just both of you in terms of what you think she adds maybe differently then. What is she bringing? We've signed Nikita Parris and we spoke. You were both actually on the show when we did with Garcia. What does Parris, I guess, bring that's different to what we've currently got and potentially, the other signings that we've brought in as well? And we'll go in the same order with yourself first, Mark.
Simply, for me, she brings, 2 things. Well, all right, maybe 3. Experience, goals, and assists. No, I love Kirsty Hansen. I know Barry loves Kirsty Hansen just as much as I do. But no one loves her more than Ben. Let's just put that there. We struggle with goals from the width. Leah does great on the left, but we struggle sometimes on the right. And I think with Nikita playing on the right, as Stuart said, she scored 33 goals for City, which if we could get half of those from her, I'd be ecstatic with, because Kirsty Hansen last season scored 1 goal in the WSL. 1 goal. And for a team that plays with the width that we do, I think that's where we kind of struggle and we need more from. But Nikita will also bring assists, and I think that's where Kirsty's game it can develop, and she can bring more onto that. So she'll bring goals, experience, and assists. And I think, as Barry said, and he's absolutely right, this is now a Marc Skinner team. And I think Mark had a season where he could get to see Casey's side and see where it was, and now he can put his stamp on it bringing, as Barry said again, bringing the players that he wants. And I think Nikita is a key signing for us. And I like I said, I'm really, really happy about it.
We've brought. I had to push the button. I forgot about that. We brought in somebody who has got heaps of experience. You know, we've spoken a lot about what was missing last year, and the things that we said that were missing last year were goals. We weren't scoring enough of them. I distinctly remember sitting here, putting out my stat pack and talking about how we just weren't getting as many goals on, shots on target as the top three were. You know, they were more clinical at getting the ball on target. And I think we also discussed a lot about needing that experience, that tactical nous, that knowing how to win and get across the line. And I think she will provide all of those things quite easily, really, because we know that she can score goals. She's one of the few people that scored 50 WSL goals. I'm not really interested in all this bump about when she scored them. She scored them. And so quite frankly, you know, that is it's outstanding, really, isn't it, to score 50 WSL goals at this point. So I think that's one thing she's going to bring us. Mark's absolutely right. There's going to be assists. I just want to see, from everything that we've had, all of the signings, the vast majority of them have been attacking. So I just want to see more shots on target, more making the goalkeeper work. And I think if we do that we're going to have a really good season. And I think Parris is one of the people that's going to absolutely help us to provide that, whether that be setting them up, whether that be taking the shots. So I think she provides that, basically, Connor, in a nutshell. She provides all of that and the experience. You know, a lot's been made of, you know, the fact that she's a Women's Euros Championship winner. I sort of fall on the fence with that a little bit, because she is. I mean, she wasn't an integral part of it in terms of she wasn't on the pitch playing 90 minutes all the time, but she's been in and around winners, and that's just key. I think that's huge. When you are in a situation where you are in dressing rooms that are successful, you see what success looks like, and therefore you're able to bring that when you come to a club. So I think that's what she's going to provide.
No,
just on one of the other key things that Barry was talking about, which I think is key, is that we are such a young team. We were such a young team last season that we didn't have anyone who would come on and control the play. And I think with the signings he's done this season, Nikita, even Rachel Williams, if they come on, they can dictate the kind of slow the play down and build it up. And I think that's one of the key things that he's trying to do. He's trying to blend youth and experience. So it's trying to mould them all together now, and I think it's going to be exciting to watch for me anyway.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? And James, you're bang on here. We've got to wait and see. None of us know. She could score 20 goals next season. She could score 2. Nobody knows. I will say on the stats though, in terms of talking about a bit like that, I agree with Charlie. I think her actual job and what we're going to see the best of her is creating space for other people. We will likely see, in my opinion, other players' numbers go up. The likes of Galton, the likes of Russo, Tooney in and around her. I think their numbers will go up because of Parris, because of the link up that she can have with the front four. And I think you both mentioned something else there. Sorry, I've lost all the comments now because they've just all moved out of the way. And yeah, Mickey there as well. Thanks for joining us. But talking there about hold up play and being able to create space for others, I totally agree. I think that is one of the big things we are going to see. Is creating space for others. And if we can get, you both talked about there, we don't score enough. Last season, we didn't get top 3 because we were conceding loads, but Chelsea game aside, it's because we couldn't score. That was the big problem. Your Villa away, your West Ham away, your Spurs away, your Everton away. You look at all of those games, we score a couple of goals like the top 3 do. That's how you get into that top 3. Something you both mentioned, I want to come to actually, you both mentioned experience. Now I'm going to add another word into that. Experienced winner, I'm going to add into that as well, because not only you mentioned there Barry the Euros, but she's won. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm just going to get this up just so I'm not saying the wrong thing. The Champions League, the WSL, the Women's Cup, the FA Cup as it was, WSL Cup, whatever it was known as back then. So she's won a lot of trophies, and whether you can argue that she wasn't heavily involved or whatever you want to, however way you want to look at it, like you said, Barry, being in and around that squad is integral. And Mark, I'll throw it over to you. Do you think that is, you mentioned it there about seeing out games potentially as well. We're going after Adriana Leon, another player, experienced winner. We're going after those types of players to help the kind of younger ones in the squad.
Yeah, look, I mean, when you look at the squad as a whole, it is a very young squad. All right, Mary is 20, you say old. Mary's 27, isn't she? You're looking at someone who, you're looking at a team that need to get over the next hurdle, which is into the Champions League spots. They need to break the top three, which isn't easy in the WSL because Chelsea, for me, are so far ahead of everyone else. It's, they just stockpile players. And I know, Connor, you and I were kind of talking about that before we came on air. Arsenal are well groomed, are a good team. So when you look at the squad, we need that bit of experience to help get these younger players over into the next bit, which is into the Champions League. And I think with Adriana Leon, who's WSL, she's played in the WSL for 4 or 5 years now. She's got that experience. Nikita, obviously, she was at City. She left for Lyon. She's gone to Lyon. She's won the Champions League. She's won the Cups, the leagues here. She's bringing that experience. Rachel Williams, yes, it's not a signing that got us all off our feet and started jumping up and down for joy, but she brings that experience. And for us to get now and get into the top three, we need experience. And I just feel Mark sees that as well, because I just felt last season we showed a lot of naivety in our play times, and I think this season there are no real excuses. We have to have that experience to help push this group of youngsters through.
100%. And Barry, same question to yourself. I'm going to bring up Charlie's comment. She's talking about, even Serena herself is talking about having experienced players around is critical for support. Because you look at the Lionesses in the summer, it was a pretty young squad. You look at a lot of the attacking players in particular, they're pretty young players coming through, but you had the likes of your Jill Scott, you had your Lucy Bronze in there, you had like Nikita Parris and those kind of players. And someone else, where's that comment gone? Talking there that the fact she's just spent the summer with the other three United girls, obviously now we got 4 from the Lionesses there. The fact she spent the summer with them is key as well. So what do you think on that in terms of the value of experience and being an experienced winner can bring to this side?
Well, I said that at the end of my last bit of input, I think, really, was the fact that, she wasn't spending loads of time on the pitch, but she was there. She's working under a manager who's not lost a game in the Euros yet, which is, staggering. 2 different teams, and she's not lost a game yet. So she's learning from that. She's learning from the players that she's with. And I think the experience part is vital. I think, we've been chatting about it for a really long time now, but we've actually got homegrown players now as well. Like you said, Earps, Russo, and Tooney as well. Those 3 now have that experience. They now have, proper experience of crossing the line and dealing with pressure. And that Germany match was pressure. They did really well to get the lead. And then obviously after it was all pegged back and went into extra time, they really did have to dig in deep. So I think they've got heaps of experience there, heaps of it. And, this is good because this is what we wanted. This is what we were talking about. But I think beyond that as well, what we also have with Parris is an incredibly hungry player. Somebody now I think is going to have a huge point to prove. And I think I just can't help but think she's going to do that. I think she's going to go out there and hopefully she's one of those people who will take any criticism that's been put towards her for her time at Arsenal. And my hope is that she's going to channel that into absolutely dazzling performances, do exceptionally well on the pitch, because she is a winner and she is a great football player and her numbers back that up. And, I've heard so many people talk about it, but the time that she spent at City was good. She's scoring roughly a goal every 2 games when you look at her stats. That is pretty damn good. If we had players here who were scoring a goal every 2 games, we'd have had double figures and we'd probably have had the golden boot as well. So I just think we need to be, it's one season and one swallow does not a summer make. So we do not need to be looking at young Nikita here and saying she's had a bad year at Arsenal. quite a few people had a bad year at Arsenal, So, yeah, I think for me, I'm really looking forward to it. I think she's hungry. She's going to be at it from the get-go. And I think that's great. That's the bonus. When you are one of those who can't get the top tier people because you don't have Champions League, this is what you need to look for, is people that have something to prove, but also have the quality. And I think, Nikita Parris absolutely underlines that.
100%. You brought me on to my next point quite nicely in terms of her time at Arsenal. That's the big talk. I think when people, I guess, look at the Paris signing, a lot of people are looking at that time now. It is a little bit of a concern. I think when you look at it and you think one goal penalty as well, it's a little bit of a concern there. But Mark, I'll throw it to you first. But just looking at that year, should we be concerned if you're just looking at that year alone? Obviously, it's the most recent time. I guess it's in the same league. Is there an area or a side of caution to be had, I guess, with that sign?
I mean, look, I understand why everyone is majorly concerned about it. She's had a bad season. Going back to what Barry said, she scored roughly, almost every other game for City. She scored 20 odd, over 20 goals in 2 seasons for Lyon. She's a goal scorer. She's had a bad season at Arsenal. I don't personally think that the Arsenal manager actually wanted her. That's my own personal thing. But when you look at Arsenal as a whole last season, let's face it, she's not going to get in front of Vivian Miedema. She's not going to get in front of Beth Mead. She wasn't going to really get in front of Tobin either. So has she had a bad season? Yeah. But she scored a goal, but she still had 3 assists last season. And, last season, yeah, she didn't score. She scored a goal and it was a penalty. But she still assisted the team when she came on. And that's what she can do for us. So am I overly concerned about it? No, because it's a bad season. It's one bad season. How many players have we ever seen in the Premier League had a bad season and the following year they've come and turned it straight around? I can think of numerous players that have done that. So am I paying any attention to last season? No, I'm not. It's done now. Last season's finished. It's a new start. It's right now. And I think she'll have a different capacity at United. I think she'll be played differently. But so overrated now. I'm not fussed about what happened last season.
Yeah, and Barry, just before you jump in, I've left that comment on screen for a reason because that's what I agree with there. One bad season doesn't define a player. And like I said earlier, if we can get the old Paris back, I say old, like it was, you're talking a different lifetime, but a couple of seasons ago, we've got a hell of a player. But Barry, just yourself, are you concerned looking at our Arsenal time
like
last
I
year?
said, one bad season doesn't make us swallow. It doesn't. It's not a problem. I think, again, the numbers that she got shows her quality. And I have to keep going back to that because it does. It doesn't matter how much you try and argue that she's had a bad season. I keep on pointing this out to people. It's not getting noticed. She did score a goal in the Champions League match that they had as well. And it's just ignored. It's just people just like, she only scored a penalty. She didn't. She scored that one as well. And that's because she's been in the Champions League. I know that Man United will not have much experience of that of late, so we might tend not to look at it as much. But, she has. So she is capable of doing these things. And like I say, I just think that having her in, she's going to be hungry, she's going to be at it. And I think another thing we need to talk about when it comes to Arsenal is consistency. It's difficult when you've been brought in and for a high price tag, she was bought from Lyon for money, it cost them. They didn't just get her in. Before you know it, you've got a manager in then who didn't fancy her, didn't rate her on that one, because if he did, he'd have played her. And then from that, she didn't play. She loses a bit of confidence maybe. And that can be so hard. And we've seen both in the men's side and in football in general, if you're working for someone who you don't believe has confidence in you as a person, that's going to affect your performance in any job that you do. It doesn't matter what you are, whether you're a postman, a lollipop lady, whatever it is you're doing. If your manager doesn't have faith in you or doesn't appear to have faith in you and plays you and gives you that confidence, you are not going to perform to the levels that you are capable of performing at. that's just the way of the world. It doesn't take Einstein to work that out. Whereas if you've got someone like Marc Skinner, who we know is capable of getting, the best out of players, who we know is capable of, we look at how he treats us as fans, comes over, blows us kisses, he makes us feel like we're the kings and queens of LSB. I 100% think that he will make her feel that way as well. And I think that when she gets that confidence, it then just comes down to skill, and she's got bags of it. So I think a confident Nikita Parris isn't just going to be a good signing, Connor. Here we go. I'm going to throw this one out there. Here's your bit you might want to clip. It's not just a good signing. It could be the signing of the season.
There is just one other bit in all of this as well, which I think we need to kind of mention. The signing of Nikita Parris, the signing of Adriana Leon, the signing of all these players, it keeps all the players that are already there in the club on their toes. And that, you can't underestimate how huge that will be. If the players coming into training see the likes of Nikita Parris, Lucia Garcia, Adriana Leon, and all these players now rocking up, they're now going to think, hang on, we're going to have to step up our game to make sure that we still play and they're sat on the bench. So for me, it's a win-win. I agree with Barry. I think it could be the signing of the summer. But I also say, and I'll put this out there, I also think that this has been our best summer window ever. And I'll ever with exclamation points at the end, because I truly do. I don't remember a summer where we've gone in and we've done 6 like this we've done here. So I think the club have done some tremendous business so far until, maybe next week when someone else might come in. But we've done tremendously well so far. So I think it's great for the squad to have all these players, and now they have to step up their game.
Absolutely, it's huge. It's the depth, isn't it? Like you just said, it's that ability, not just even keeping on their toes. It's knowing they're on the bench. So it's not even you're going to sit there and getting the whole 90. It could be, if I'm not performing by half time, I could get the old shepherd's hook. That's it. I'm off the pitch and on comes somebody else.
Yeah, and the other point as well, which last time I was on, I think you made it, Barry. Last season we were struggling to even get a bench full. This season we're going to have to be struggling to leave players off the bench, and that's also huge. So for me, it's a win-win, and you can't lose on this right now. Just get on the bus and enjoy the ride.
100%.
100%. I'm going to come back to buses at the end because there's some good news from the supporters club about buses. I am going to come back around to that actually. But no, there's some good points, mate. You both talking a little bit there about kind of the hunger that she's going to bring in terms of, and I think Ellie makes the point as well. The World Cup being next year, there's no guarantees for a few of these older players. The likes of, maybe, I say older like it's old, it's only a couple of years older than me. But you're looking at the likes of Nikita Parris and so on. No squad, you've got a lot of good youngsters coming through, so the positions are not guaranteed for next year. So you've got players like Parris, for example, coming in. She's going to have a good season in order to secure a spot in the World Cup for next year. So that in itself is, and I think as well, she's going to want to prove a lot of people wrong. We've seen the reaction, from different sets of fans, over the last, since the announcement came out. She's going to want to prove people wrong. You would, any professional that is going to a club and see it, they don't rate me. Well, I'll show you that. She's going to have that kind of attitude, I think. So I think that, and having the World Cup next year, I think is going to be equally as important in terms of pushing us on. And also I agree with that point from Charlie there, talking about, we've actually relatively early, pre-season starts next week, I believe. Next Wednesday, I think it is our first game, isn't it? So we've not just gone in all last minute to get a load of signs over the line. We've done it. And to be fair to the club as well, mid-Euros as well. How much of this would have been done before the Euros, obviously we don't know. But with the summer tournament, it's usually quite hard to get players over the line. We've done it, paid fees for players, got contracts sorted and all that kind of stuff before the first game of pre-season. So that could be massive as well. Ellie, I'm going to come back to your comment in a second in terms of do you think she would start, because we have got the poll results for that, which I'm going to bring up in a second. But you both mentioned our different attacking options, and that's something that I want to come to before we ask the question, do we think she will start, in terms of we've got a lot of attackers now. And I think Deb made a point earlier on in terms of what does this mean in terms of will we see any more, that's the one. It'll be interesting if we lose anyone else, because you want a big squad, but you don't particularly want, I guess, a Chelsea where you've got players that will just not play all season, quality players I'm talking about. So I'll come to you first, Mark, in terms of our squad depth, in terms of how do we see this all working? Because as we said there, we went from last season, and I've used the Villa away game as an example, having 3 attackers on the bench, and 2 of those attackers are attacking midfielders, to now we're going to have, we're talking 7, 8, 9 potentially. 2 of them aren't even going to make the squad, in the matchday squad at this rate. So how do you kind of see this all fitting in, I guess?
So I think, well, I would hope to expect to see Tuni Lessie starting against Spurs. I hope. Lessie starts. Let's put that point out there. I think Lessie starts, and I think she'll be playing through the middle. Tuni will probably be playing as a number 10, even though when I was last on, I had her out on the left just to try and get her in somehow. But I've since changed that. It's going to be interesting. I think Leah obviously starts on the left. I think with Lucia Garcia probably on the bench. And I can't see Nikita Parris not starting. I really can't. I think she starts unless she's injured or the team Mark goes a different way and he wants a bit of probably strength down the side, which is what Kirsty Hansen gives him. But predominantly, I think it'll be Lessie through the middle, Leah on the left, and Nikita on the right, starting as a front 3.
100%. And Barry, just before you answer that question, I'm looking at this comment up. I'm a little bit confused because you're saying you're happy with the signings, even though they do make us weaker. Is that
basically what you've got there is somebody who obviously doesn't like Marc Skinner and is pleased, and I'm pleased. I'm pleased you put it up there because now the world will see this, and at the end of the season we'll come back to that and we'll go, "Oh dear, that was not a good take." Because it doesn't make us weaker. It 100% doesn't. I think people that think signing someone with the track record of a Nikita Parris, the experience, and indeed the honours. I mean, let's be clear, she's won more than our club. So, you can't sit there and say that makes us weaker. That can only ever make us stronger. And I think it was Britney Spears who said that, wasn't it? What doesn't kill us makes us stronger. So, it could be there. But who am I to argue with Britney Spears?
Are you sure?
I'm not sure.
I don't think it was.
It wasn't quite the lyrics. But listen, back on the fly here. It was an unexpected comment that made it through. Did you have another question? What were we talking about?
I can't remember. My DJ head went on there trying to think of
I agree with Mark. Russo has to start. If Russo doesn't start, then I'm gobsmacked. She has to start. When we need a new contract for her, where in the situation that we're in, with the absolute no doubt that this woman is going to be one of the next big things in women's football, she needs to start. So Russo's got to start. Ella Toon's got to start for me, 100%. So bearing in mind, you're probably going to start with them, and I can't see Katie Zellum not starting either. That's kind of your spine that you're going to get there. Quite where the centre-back situation will be, I don't know. Obviously, Mary Earp's in goal. So I think really what you're looking for is the wings, the other sides of these players. I think this gives an opportunity for Martha Thomas maybe to come into the middle. So whether that will be a 2 up front sort of jobby or something like that, I don't know. I think this is the key thing. The minute you start getting this real depth to your attack, all of a sudden you've got options. You can go 1 up front, you can go 2 up front, 3, 4. Depending on the situation, you've got the tools to be able to do that job. So personally, I'm 100% looking forward to seeing just what he chooses to do. It's going to be fascinating. I think if you just take the emotion out of it for a moment and just look at it with a football brain, it's going to be unreal. I can't wait. It's going to be absolutely fascinating to see what decisions he chooses to make. But for me, if I was working on the theory, there's going to be a sort of a 3 up front with Tuni just behind, which is how I would play it. I think you're starting with Parris. And then the question comes, does Galton start or not? And I don't know how fit she is after the injury that she had at the end of the season and quite how bad that was. So I think a lot of it will depend on how she's done there. But to be honest, it doesn't really matter who you pick. I just think, that's the beauty. Who do you pick? Just pick the names out of a hat. and you've got a decent front three for me.
No, 100%. And you mentioned about Paris starting. I will bring up the results of the poll. It was almighty close. I was gonna bring the picture up, but it just covers everything. So I'm actually gonna share my screen because it's just easier. Let's go with that. There we go. So the results are in. It is almost a dead split, but it has swung one way. It has gone to the side of no. I will zoom in for you, Barry, because I can see you.
Yeah,
to
glasses, mate. I'm getting old.
But you can see there, 51.2 say no, which is interesting. I'll be intrigued to see if there's anyone in the comments actually that voted no, because I agree with what Mark said. I don't think a player like Parris comes in. I just don't see how she doesn't start. I think if you're paying the fee, she's obviously going to be on good money as well. She's a bit, not that you pick players on being a big name, but I can't see her coming in to sit on the bench personally. I don't know whether anyone disagrees with that. And if people in the comments, if anyone did vote no, I'd love to hear like who starts there instead.
You've got basically with 86 people there, you're looking at sort of 44 and 42, ain't you? Really, or 45 and 41. So it really is the difference of about 2 or 3 people, I think. Looking at that,
it is interesting.
Because you said yes, didn't you? You were 100% that Nikita Parris. I clicked yes as well. I don't know what Connor clicked.
I went for yes as well.
So all 3 of us went yes, but clearly we're outnumbered.
I just think there's reading comments and going through Twitter today. Obviously, there's some people who are very happy with the signing of Nikita, and there's some who are not very happy about the signing of Nikita. Yeah. But overall, when you bring in a player of her quality, she's, as Connor said, and she's not going to come and just sit on the bench. She's not going to do that. Now, whether Mark wants to bed her in slowly, that's a different conversation. That's up to him. She'll miss the majority of our pre-season games. She won't be. Well, she's not going to be here for Wednesday against Liverpool. She won't be in Toulouse the week after. She might be at the back end of August by the first time we get to see her in a United shirt. And then we're into Spurs. So is she going to be ready, fit enough to start for Spurs? Look, I think she will be. So for me, she starts. But obviously, having a pre-season is huge for these players. And obviously, we always make mention that it's a World Cup year. So they want to try and stay fit and get through. So, look, for me, she starts. You don't bring her in not to start her. I think... However, though, if Mark wants to bed her in slowly, I completely get it.
Yeah, and I think as well, someone made I've just brought it up, I've lost it. What Lanzel's saying there about Garcia. I think this helps Garcia because it doesn't put all the pressure. Now, Garcia's best position, we all think, is going to be off the right. If that is the case, stop sharing the screen. If that is the case, then not having all the pressure just on Garcia to come in a new league and perform, having someone like Parris there for a couple of years, that could help Garcia as well. I don't know whether anyone disagrees with that, but I think that's what you've got options now. Like I said, you've got Parris and Garcia on one side. You've got Leah and Leon potentially on the other. You've got Thomas and Russo down the middle. You've got Vilda and Suni in the middle. So you've got almost now 2 players for every position.
You see, I looked at some of Lucia Garcia's highlights, whatever you want to call them. And she's been playing predominantly off the left to come in for Athletic. So I see her as probably trying to get more into Leah's position, but obviously you can't drop Leah. And like you said, it's now 2 players for every position, and it's something that I talked about with people for ages. Sir Alex Ferguson said to build a squad, you need to have 2 players for every position, and Marc Skinner is doing that now. We've got Parris and Hansen for the right. We've got Martha and Leslie down the middle. We've got Galton and potentially Garcia down the left. You've got Tooney, who can play as a number 10. You've got Jackie, who can play as a number 10. You've got Zelly, who can play. We've got more midfielders than we know what to do with as well. And now we're probably short at the back. So I think Galton will start on the left, and I think he'll bed Lucia in slowly. I think for me, I don't think we'll potentially see a start a game. I don't think till probably the Conte. I'll say that. And better in slowly but surely. But I see Lucia coming from the left, leaving Nikita. But then again, I'm not a football manager. I'm crap at it on football on my phone. I fail at it on FIFA. So don't ask me where I would start with players because I get it completely wrong.
Well, there's a good point there from Deb as well, like you said about Rachel Williams. And there's just too many of them. Unless I write them down beforehand, I lose them all. Because there's just so many to remember. It's like when you send a bloke shopping and they always come back missing something. That's because you've given us too big of a list. And that's where we are. We've got too big of a list of players to remember whilst we're sat here. And absolutely, Rachel Williams could be there. And actually, I'm a little bit disappointed you brought that up, Deb, because what I've basically been hearing and listening to here was that this was the best opportunity for #Hansen in. And it could well be Rachel Williams who starts instead on the right. So who knows? But again, as Mark says, we're not the football managers. It's going to be down to the other Mark. He's got to make that decision. And honestly, I'm really excited. I can't wait to see what he chooses to do and the way in which he, the vision he's got with his management staff for us to go forward. Because I like I said, I think Nikita Parris can only strengthen what we've done. And yeah, I'm absolutely. I don't think it's going to be a formation change. It's a bit like Christmas. We're all just waiting to get down there Christmas morning and see what it is that's actually given to us. We all know what we want. Everybody's sitting there saying, "Oh, Mummy and Daddy, please can have this for Christmas. This is what I want." Is it going to be under the tree? And you'll all have to come to LSV and find out, won't you? Or indeed, on this occasion, the Spurs Stadium, because we're starting off away.
That's if we can get tickets. Just saying.
Exactly, and this is a very good comment as well. That the lineup predictions that is run is going to be. It's a good thing though, right? I think that Ellie's made the point here. We were complaining a couple of months ago saying we don't have. Why is nobody coming in? The club aren't saying anything. Last season we were going, oh, if only we had. I said it at Chelsea away. I was like, well, we were obviously winning at half time, and I was like, but look at Chelsea's bench. Like, look at the players they can bring on, and obviously we all saw what happened in the second half. That potentially, if these signings go right, is going to be us next season. Level at half-time in a game or 1-0 up or something like that. Oh, it's fine. We've got Lucia Garcia on the bench. We've got Leon on the bench. You've got options there now. So it's not a bad thing at all. And I don't think the players would see it like that. There's a question about Hansen, potentially going out on loan. Potentially.
You get lots of that. But we were just saying about how it builds up players and makes them fight for it. It could just as equally make Kirsty Hansen go, hang on a minute, this is my position you're trying to go for. So maybe she works harder to try and get in the team as well. This is the thing. It lifts everybody. And if it doesn't, then unfortunately it is if you can't stand the heat, you've got to get out of the football club, I'm afraid. Ultimately, as much as it pains me to say it, that's where it is. So, we're trying to grow a football club that's going to be successful. So ultimately, you're going to need to bring players in to do that, and we've done that.
No, for me, I can't see someone major like Kirsty going out. I can't. It'll be too late now. And then if she does go out, we're back to square one we're a squad player short. And if something, an injury happens to Nikita or Leah, then we're a winger short. Who's going to play there? We're going to move Leslie back out to the right and potentially lose the goals and have Martha through the middle. I don't see it happening. And I go back to something that I remember Kirsty Hansen said when Tobin Heath came in, because Tobin Heath was obviously playing in her position. She said, watching her in training makes me want to train harder. And with that in mind, when Nikita Parris steps onto the training pitch at Carrington, whenever it may be, and Kirsty Hansen or Leah Goldson or whoever it may be will see these new players. If that doesn't make you want to work harder, then Barry's answer just at the very end does it all.
No, 100%. I said, Lansel, I was going to get to your comments. You've actually put two little questions in. We did this very similar when we did our Garcia one, but I'll come to this one first. And so, thoughts on a midfield three? I think Barry's hit the nail on the head when he's talking about, you look at all of the forwards, what does it do really for the midfield? Because now you're looking at a potential where we could be changing shape in terms of formations the next season. because of all the attackers we've got in. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to go 4-1-6 or something. That's too many players. You know what I mean? 4-1-5 or something. But yeah, it's an interesting thought. I mean, I don't know whether anyone's got any comments on that in terms of a midfield three. That's a tongue twister and a half.
Katie Pelham, Ella Toom, plus one other.
I think.
Wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah, I think Zelly starts. I think she's captain. I think she starts. Tooney starts. I'll say Jackie. I don't think we're going to need Hayley Ladd probably as much if we've got all these attacking options. But then again, depending on the opponents, depending on the game, I'll see Hayley Ladd. But I think he'll go with Katie, Jackie, and Tooney predominantly. Maybe throw Vilda in there just every now and again just to see where she's up to. But I think those predominantly.
No, 100%. And just very quickly on Vilda, the show we did with Phil, when we were talking about Norway and Vilda, obviously she's going to have a point to prove next season, particularly in this country because of Norway's kind of the way that their exit and their Euros went. You know, Vilda's going to be coming back going, I don't want that happening again. So it's, again, options. You're talking options all over the place now. And you've put another question in. What is your back four due to we have Myla Tissier now? I wasn't expecting to do a full lineup prediction here. I think that's maybe one for next week when a certain French centre half gets over the line because our answers might change once that becomes official.
When we were on a couple of weeks ago, I think Mark was here when we had this because we did actually have a go at naming our full 11. And I think we all went with Honor on the left, Maya on the right. And then it was, pick your fittest two to our centre backs at the moment.
Yeah, I think that is the thing, isn't it? Because for me, I've stated all along, I think Maya comes in. I've made some big claims over the last couple of weeks. I'm either going to get clipped up and it's going to be sent to me at the end of the season, or I'm just going to be hailed a hero. But I said at the start, I think Maya comes in and makes a starting spot her own, whether that's centre back, whether that's right back. I think she's that good. I think she comes in and starts. And my other not an outlandish claim, but I did put it on Twitter earlier. I think Parris comes in and I think she only gets outscored by Russo next season. But,
okay, here it comes. Here comes the good old Mark curveball, because I'll throw it in there. Beginning of the season, we know we haven't got Aoife. Tuankara, sorry, mention the name. If she signs, won't be starting most of the pre-season. So I'll throw it in there. So Lanzel asked about our midfield three. I'm going to throw it in that it could be, and I've just thought about this, I'm going to say Jackie, Tooney and Vilda, because I think Zelly will be playing as centre-back for a few games this season to start off with. Thank you. I'll just leave that there with you all to mull over for a minute.
It was nice. I actually thought that Hayley might be the one that drops back. So it would still be Zellum and Tooney with one other, and maybe Hayley that, Hayley had as our Wolves, maybe she could drop back. So they've both done it. But yeah, it's again, just so many choices. It's mad. The change that we've had in just 12 months.
No, 100%. And you both made the point earlier. It's my last kind of question on this before we look to wrap this up. I do apologize. It's a slightly shorter one on a Saturday evening, afternoon, whichever you want to call it. But I guess that was my kind of question. So I can't remember who mentioned it so earlier on, that this now we're looking at is slowly becoming Marc Skinner's squad. We're kind of seeing, and I was looking at a thread on Twitter earlier, and I've listened to other people's opinions. And my kind of thoughts on it is that this same squad pretty much has got the same position 2 years running. Now, we know that the quality that some of these players have, but if you're going to change that mentality, you've got to pretty much change most of the players in the squad because they've achieved it twice. If we want to push higher, you've got to change some things around. So I guess my kind of question to each of you in terms of, are we now seeing, I think you've put kind of both answers across the last 45 minutes, but are we now seeing this is Marc Skinner's squad signing I'm going to use that word, versatile forwards? We're seeing the type of mentality of the players that he wants as well, that this is now going to become his squad. And next season, ultimately, he'll be judged on the players that we've brought in this summer rather than the squad as a whole.
100%. 100%. I think last season, most of us, me, I was one of them, Mark had a free pass because it was Casey's squad. So I would have been happy last season to be in the top half of the table, considering he came into the club so late. He started pre-season late. he didn't really bring, the players with Casey's signings last summer. So last season, for me, he overachieved where I thought we would be. It's now this season that counts. He's now brought, his players in, his stamp on the team. So I'm, this season, minimum, and I'm not saying this is what I'm settling for, he has to have as a minimum, he has to be in 4th. That's the minimum. You can't look anything below. Minimum is 4th. Anything above that, Marc Skinner's great. However, I think he's great anyway. But because just the way he is as a character. But he now has to raise that bar where he was last season with Casey's squad. He now has his squad, and now he has to raise that even further.
Yeah, and Barry, same for yourself.
So, you're absolutely right. The players that we had have hit 4th both times, even with the signings that Stoney brought in before she left. And we achieved 4th. And I mean, if we are brutally honest, we probably should have got 3rd last year. We probably should have. It was just a couple of silly mistakes at certain points. We probably should have. But I'm not too bitter about it because, I say it time and again, I'm proud of what they do and the way in which they perform. It's, it's hard to be disappointed and angry with them when you see the effort and everything they put into the games. Next year, Mark's right. It's got to be 4th. That's our ceiling, and it's also our basement. So it's as far as we've got, and it's as far as we've dropped. Do the players that we brought in give us the opportunity to do that? Absolutely, they do. And I think we've proven it. You look at that game against Chelsea. We were matching them for that first half. They didn't really know what to do with us. And the big problem was we just couldn't keep that going and maintain it into the second half. So we've shown we've got that capability. We beat Arsenal in that world-famous Conti Cup match, Connor, that both you and I will treasure for the rest of our days. So we've seen loads of different things that we can do with the existing setup. I think that Marc Skinner is going to surprise or prove wrong quite a few people this year, because the one thing that's clear about all of this, whether it's a success or whether it's not, is that there's been a plan. We haven't just sat there and gone, oh, I'll have that one, we'll take that one. We're not just wandering around the supermarket whilst we're hungry, picking everything off because we think we like it. He's made a decision. He's looked at his positions. We're sitting here going, oh, I wonder who's going to play where and what we're going to do. And none of us know, but I'll tell you who does. Marc Skinner. He knows what he wants to do. He knows how he wants to set up. He knows, I just wish he'd come out and tell us. And during pre-season friendlies, we'll probably see that. Or not, if MUWSC don't take it up, but we might have an idea based on reports and such like from there. So, do I think we can? 100%. I don't go into these things with any expectations. I learnt that. I got my fingers severely burnt from the men's team last year, listening to all sorts of different things. The fact that we finished 4th, then 3rd, then 2nd. I was like, oh, we're going to win the league. No, not even close. So, we just don't go down that. It's just like Mark said, we need to get on the bus and just enjoy the view. Just enjoy what you're doing, because we are a young team. And I know people don't like to hear that. I know people just seem to want to go, yeah, but we've got to have ambition and we've got to have all sorts. We're 4 years old. And there's just not many cases of clubs that are 4 years old coming in and sweeping away the opposition in every single stretch. So, I think that we've just got to enjoy what's coming, because I think it's going to be a really good season, a really, really good season. And, I can't wait for it. I absolutely cannot wait. In fact, I'm annoyed it's not starting immediately after this podcast.
No, 100%. There's a couple of very quick fire questions, because I don't like ignoring questions in the comments. I'm sorry I've not managed to get around to all of them today. There's been quite a lot of chat in the comments. But Mark, there's a question direct for you here. Where is it? Do you think it'll be seen as a failure if we get 4th again? I guess the question there.
Look, for me, I won't see it as a failure. Depending, and I'll use the word depending on how close we are to 3rd. We need to constantly close that gap. Look, City, Chelsea, Arsenal are 3 great teams. Look, for me, Chelsea are up there with the best women's teams in Europe. They stockpile all the decent players so no one else can get them. So I think Chelsea are right now out of our reach. I think we can grab onto City. I think City are the ones you look at and you go, they're the ones that potentially are going to slip and slide. So if we get fourth, will it be seen as a failure to some people? Yeah. Will I see it as a failure? Look, I've seen United win countless Premier Leagues, Champions Leagues, FA Cups, and other cups. But we've not always played. It depends on the football we play. If we play the Manchester United or the Marc Skinner way of football, and we score lots of goals, and we concede in the last minute or whatever, can you class that as a failure? No. Will I class it as a failure? No, because this, Barry's just said it. Everyone seems to forget this team was only formed in 2018. We've come a long way, and one of those years we had to cut the whole season short because of COVID. So we're not even really 4 years old yet. We're 3.5. And in 3.5 years, we've won the championship. We've got to County Cup semi-finals. We've done some tremendously great things. And we're growing better and better and better. So is fourth a failure? No. It's a progression to where we can be. Do I think we'll end up fourth? Look, I'm like Barry. I'm not going to predict because I'm awful at it. I think United will win every game 15-0 if you're asking me. Do I think it's a failure? No. But there has to be and that's the word you have to use, progression. There has to be a progression. Mark had a free go last season. This season, he doesn't. This is his squad. We now have to go on to the next level. And as Barry said and I said, just get on the bus and enjoy it. We're going to win games. We're going to lose games. We're going to draw games. We'll all come out of the ground either happy, frustrated, or annoyed. And then 15, 20 minutes later, we'll go, yeah, it's fine. It's football. It's United. It's what happens. It's a roller coaster of emotions, and that's what you get with United, be it through the men's, the women's, the under-23s, even the under-5s. I'm sure if we went to watch the under-5s, we'd all get annoyed with them because it's what United does. It's what's ingrained in us as United fans. We just have to enjoy it. And if you want to see fourth as a failure, then fine, people will. Will I? No, because as long as I can see a progression, I'm happy with that progression.
No, 100%. And Barry, just very quickly before we look to round this off, that point there, if we qualify for Champions League, are we ready for it? And there's also a follow-up from Mickey talking about if we do qualify, obviously the new signs are in there, and the next one's Champions League football. It'll be a well-oiled machine by then.
It's a really tricky one because Stu said in the fans forum last night, sometimes you just have to accept that, like Polly, if she comes in as the new director of women's football, that she might have said already to people, we weren't ready for it this season. And you know what? Maybe we're not. But you know how you get ready for things? It's by taking part in it and getting used to it. And, it's the same reason we're not going to be like Latvia in the Euros. We won't get walloped 20-0. Will we win it? Not necessarily. But we don't have many English teams, I don't think, that are really causing problems for the other European sides. I think the thing that will be a good marker for us will be this little mini tournament that we're going away to go and do in the pre-season. That'll give us a really good marker as to whereabouts we are. And yes, it's only a friendly, but it will still give us that opportunity there to see how we do against European. Is that we've got 3 players, or 4 now, because Nikita's come in, who've won the Euros. We've got players within there such as Jackie and Maria, Honor, and this is where you start forgetting people again. Vilda, all these people have taken part in it. They're part of their women's national team. Hayley Ladd, Martha Thomas, they're all internationals. Are we really going to sit here and say that internationals can't perform well in an international tournament? Not me. So, I want them to get there because I want the best for my football club. And I want to be the best as a football club. And for that to happen, we've got to get to the Champions League. So if we get there, are we ready for it? I don't know. But do I want to get there? Absolutely. And if we get walloped, we get walloped. And we'll go away and lick our wounds and try and get it again next year. and do better. You know, it took Fergie almost, what was it, 12, 13 years before he went and got it. So come back to me in 12 or 13 years' time, and we should have it by then.
Can I answer that a different way?
Please do.
Are they ready for us? That's the way I see it.
Go on, Mark. That'd be fighting talk. Look at that. That's the ending right there. Are they ready for us? Clip that. Love it.
No, 100%. And yeah, I'm not even going to add to that because I think that is the perfect way to end that question. TJ, absolutely no worries. Go back and rewatch it because why not? It's been a good show.
My fault, TJ. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all Barry's fault. We were going to go live at 7, then Barry was like, "Oh, can we do 6?" So that's why. But there's been a lot of talk about buses throughout this show. It's been mentioned quite a lot. I think there's been some sort of hints about buses throughout this show. But Mark, do you want to talk to us about it's some exciting news. The supporters club tweeted out the other day about some shuttle buses.
Yeah. So through conversations with the club that Deborah had, I had very little to do with this. The club are now working with a travel option for home and away for away games, and also a shuttle service between Old Trafford and Lee. They're going to be stopping off Eccles interchange, Metrolink stop, and then also on the East Lancs Road for pickups. So this is huge. This is now United trying to get more fans into the ground, and it's easily to book. You just go to www.oneclubunitedtravel.co.uk and you can click on the link and it will ask you to where you want to start your journey, and they'll add your name to a list. And then that's it. It's United now pushing more fans to get in. We all know Lee isn't the easiest place to get to. And this is now the next stage, growing the fan base within the ground. The fans on Twitter, we've got a huge fan base on Twitter, on Instagram. So yeah, it just making it, as the comment Barry's just put up, it's making it easier to get to Lee. It's that simple. There's no excuses now. There are no excuses. You can still go by bus, by the V1 from Manchester, or you can get to yourself to Old Trafford or Eccles Interchange or the Park and Ride on the East Lancs Road. And now there are no excuses for you not getting to Lee. It is there on a plate for you. It is really simple.
No, 100%. It's something on this channel we've spoken about, and across other platforms as well. It's been spoken about. How do we get more, fans into Lee? A lot of the discussions around public transport and that kind of thing. Could there be some kind of bus from Manchester? Well, there you go. It's been provided now. So that is, and like I tweeted the other day, that's great work from everyone involved to get that done, because that is a huge step forward, and hopefully it sees an increase in. Let's beat the attendance record next season, because if we're not going to do it off the back of the Euros that we've just had, I don't know when we're going to do that. So, and yeah, Mickey, to be fair, 100%. If you do fly over, come and say hi. If you are at a game, come and say hi to all of us. I promise we're friendly in real life as well. But yeah, no, 100%. Hope you can get over for that. And yes, I believe TJ. I think they are now. I believe Mark, unless he's going to correct me if I'm wrong here. But
all gone. All sold.
So that is fantastic as well. And I think if you look for the Reading game, the first home game they've opened up majority of the against the East Stand, isn't it? For
I just need a few more to get in, then I can try and push us like into the terrace. But
one day we'll get behind that goal where all the flag. Where would the flags go? That's a conversation.
We'll go just in front of us. What we'll do is we'll have to hold a flag each and just stand there. We can wear it. Kind of what we can do is we can harness our inner Marc Skinner and wear it like he did.
I was just thinking that Durham away with the flag. We'll just kind of all have one and hold it behind. But no, 100%. Make sure you go and check that out. I'll put the link to the website below, and obviously the supports on Twitter as well, because you're not going to get a better place to find ticket information, all these kinds of things as well. So you may as well check all of that out. Thanks to Mark and Barry for coming on. We've just about hit the hour mark, talking about Nikita Parris there. Bit of an impromptu live stream today because we didn't expect it to come out today, but we've done a show anyway talking about it. We'll be back on, what day are we on now? We'll be back on Monday with the Legacy of the Euro show. So we've got new fans coming on, we've got content creators, we've got journalists, we've got a whole thing over 2 and a bit hours talking about all things about the legacy of the Euros and the impact that's going to have. And we'll be back at some point next week as well, talking about I'm going to say the name because Mark did earlier, Tunkara potentially coming over to Manchester United as well. That we're hoping is next week as well. So we'll be doing a reaction show for that. Mark, you better get off because your dinner's ready. So go and enjoy that, and make sure you're liking and subscribing, and get your comments in as well. I'll read all the comments after the video's gone out as well. So for now, someone's got something to go. We shall see you guys very soon.